Hey there, everybody. My name is Joyce Omondi Wahiga. Welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. I'm super excited about this second hour of the show. I think we have a lot of great nuggets for you guys to walk away with. As far as your thoughts, okay, I don't have a physical giveaway, but I have a lot of giveaways as far as your thoughts and your thinking today, okay? To begin with, we're going to be having a book review. And this is a book that I mentioned actually last time when we were toying around with the idea of a book club, a Full Circle with Joyce book club. And so we'll be touching on that book here shortly. And later on, we'll be talking about 5 steps to find your brand voice. So you really don't want to miss out on this conversation as you're setting yourself up for the week. You know, learn how to influence people, to make new friends and win them over, and also how to establish yourself, you know, as you go out for job interviews and whatnot. Okay, 22999 is the SMS line. And as always, you can also comment on social media at SwitchTVKE on Instagram, at SwitchTV Kenya on Facebook and Twitter. And you can follow me along at Joyce Omondi on those platforms. Before we move on, though, let's take a look at our quote for the day. It is by Steve Jobs, and it says, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking." I'll read that again. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. That's Steve Jobs who said that. And indeed, how true that statement is. Time is absolutely limited. And even though COVID has kind of, you know, put people in their homes, and there might be a slight temptation to think, oh, I just have all the time in the world. I certainly hope that's not been your mentality. Hopefully, you've been spending at least part of the time just doing a lot of reflection about what really motivates you, what drives you. Why do you do the things you do? Is it to impress other people, or is it to accomplish, you know, a higher purpose that you've been able to identify for yourself? So I hope those are some of the types of thoughts and questions that you've been going through in this season. And hopefully this next segment, as we discuss this book here, will add on to that discovery. Okay, so we want to talk about the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. And with us here, joining us once again, we have Lorraine Kirigia. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Joyce. Good
Great
morning.
to have you.
Good to have you too.
Good
to be here.
Now, last year here, you really challenged us.
Yes.
We talked about a book club, and a lot of people actually, you know, seemed quite keen on the idea. So, who knows? We might be starting it off actually today, right, with you. And we want to talk about the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a book written by Dale Carnegie, and for me this is a book I highly recommend for every young person or everybody to actually just read. And it's so interesting because its truths are so timeless, despite the fact that it was published in 1936.
Yes.
Decades ago.
Imagine.
Over 30 million copies have been sold worldwide, making it one of the best-selling books of all time. In 2011, it was number 19 on Time magazine's list of the 100 most influential books. So I'm feeling super smart and genius already just for having read it and seeing all its credentials,
you know,
having been pointed on such a list. But you obviously have read it as well.
Yes, I have.
And you have your physical copy, I see.
have my physical copy, Joyce. Here we go.
Tell us, what are some of the things that really stood out for you with this book?
So first of all, I think I have tremendous respect for Dale because, like you've said, all these years later, I mean, 1936 is a whole lot of many years ago.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're still applying those lessons that he taught, I mean, if you're a world leader, if you read some of the reviews, they say, you know, if you want to be the best leader in the world, you must have read this book. If you want to be a good sales manager, you must have read this book. And, you know, that says a lot about the book. And for me, there are certain things that have stood out and I've applied them all my life. Number one, and also the choice of the adjectives that he uses. You know, it's just not, because I've seen other people who talk about it like being a manipulative book. It really isn't. You know, yes, there are people who really criticize it as a manipulative book. But when I think about number one, when he says be genuinely interested in people, in other people, the key word here is genuinely interested in other people. Yeah, so that then if I'm coming to have a meeting with Joyce, for instance, I am not just having having this interview, I already am interested in who Joyce is. If I am selling a product, because I think this is the other thing brands miss out a lot on, and especially now with COVID and you're stuck at home, how is your brand speaking to me as a person? You know, so being very genuinely interested in other people. You're not there to just take, because I always talk about the art of giving as opposed to just taking. So for me, the biggest lesson from the book was being genuinely interested in other people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a great one. And I think for me, one of the other ones I really picked up from him was this idea of even when you're right, like just...
Yep.
Believe me, I've been tested on that even today. But even when you're right, you just kind of swallow your words and correct people indirectly. It's very, very important, because you always want to make the other person sort of feel like, you know, they're in charge, or, you know, I don't know, you know, people just come from different places and they have different things going on in their lives. But I think this applies in so many areas, even marriage.
Even marriage, yes. Well, I wouldn't know, but yes.
That
in fact, what he says
even
in your relationships, whichever kind of relationship. In fact, what he says about arguments is the best way to win an argument is not get into one in the first place.
Exactly.
Because either way, there's no win-win. Because then if you decide to, you know, argue your way into it, you feel like you have won, but you've left the other person feeling that you've robbed them of something. So really, ideally, you haven't won. Yeah.
And the opposite side of that, though, is when you are wrong, to admit it quickly.
Exactly.
And be honest about it.
Admitting.
Apologize.
Exactly. In fact, just yesterday we were laughing with some friends because we're talking about how we keep saying the millennials, the young people, you know. But then when you think about it, Joyce, what are those silly things you did when you were 19 and 20? You know, we're talking about one of my nephews who, you know, is into hair and all those things. And one of the other cousins said, but when I was 20, I also used to calicate my hair, or I used to, you know, blow dry my hair. Maybe you never took notice then because you were as young as he was. So how do you correct that behavior? Do you start saying, don't use my products, don't do this, don't do the other? It's just find a very subtle way to say, you know, you can use this, but you don't have to condition every day. You can condition after 10 days, you know?
I love it.
So it's how you correct people as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, I want us to take a break, but when we come back, part of what we're going to tackle is the secret to really dealing with difficult people, because I really think in a way that's kind of what the book was about. But he had this, he put into practice what he's telling us with this very subtle, nuanced title as well, how to win friends and influence people. And it's key about winning friends. There's something about that too, rather than us just saying we're just going to get or make a friend. What does it mean to actually win a friend? We want to have that discussion as well. And if you guys, any of you have read it, please do let me know as well. 22999 is the SMS line. I'd love to hear your takeaways as well. And we'll be back after this. Hey guys, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. I'm here with Lorraine and we're going through the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And actually, before we carry on, Lorraine, maybe you can read us a small passage of this book. Yes.
One of the things we were discussing just before we went on break, you know, it's understanding people and their different temperaments and all that. So one of the things I love is chapter 8 of this book, where it says, remember that other people may be totally wrong, but they don't think so. So don't condemn them. Any fool can do that. Try and understand them. Only wise, tolerant, exceptional people even try to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Only wise, tolerant, and acceptable people try to do that.
Exceptional people try to do that, yes.
So it's foolish to try and make somebody else look like a fool.
Exactly.
You're playing in the mud together.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And maybe you can just hold up the book, your copy of the book actually, for this camera here. This is the book that we're talking about today, How to Win Friends and Influence People. All right. And the book is by Dale Carnegie. It was written in 1936. So a very long time ago. There you have it. And over 30 million copies sold worldwide. It is among Time's 100 most influential books. Definitely one of my own personal favorites. And I highly encourage every single one of you guys to read it. And it's not too expensive too, which is a great thing.
No, it's not, yeah.
So please do try and get your hands on the book. But as we carry on with our conversation, I want us to talk about how to actually handle people, because essentially this is a book about that, right? Handling different personalities, different temperaments. And you know, his one of the principles that he began with was don't criticize, don't condemn, and don't complain, which are the easiest things to do.
Exactly.
So it makes it hard not to do them.
Yes.
And I loved how he would share these stories and show examples of the ways in which, when you kind of just soften and when you're kind to people, you really disarm them in a way.
Absolutely. And you know, for me it really goes back to being genuine, being sincere, because he really uses a lot of these keywords, you know, and even about condemning and scolding. Even think about a small child. Every time you keep scolding that child, they don't quite hear what you say, because remember, even children learn by looking at what it is you're doing. So how about you also, you know, mirror the things that you want this child to do, whether, you know, or even your spouse or the relationship that you're in, as opposed to you always condemning and saying, but you don't always do this, Joyce, but you don't always, you know. How about you turn it around, because then you leave this person with nothing else to say, you know, because you've handled it, you know, in the best way.
Absolutely. And in fact, someone else is pointing that out in their SMS here, saying, hey Joyce, the show is lit. I love the book, and especially the part about techniques in handling people. And they quote for us, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Number 2, give honest and sincere appreciation.
Yes.
Thirdly, arouse in the other person an eager want. And you say the book is applicable today as it was when it's written. And maybe we can actually delve into what they've written there. Give honest and sincere appreciation. And I feel like this is one of those things, so many of us are just out here faking it. Like you really don't mean it.
Absolutely.
And it goes back to your point about being genuine.
Being genuine. In fact, the give honest and sincere appreciation is one of my 3, because I had told you I have the 3, and it's because we rarely get, and it's not about the big things that someone does for you, Joyce. It just could be the fact that, you know, Joyce has actually called me back to her show and just say, thank you very much for thinking about me. It's not about the big gifts that I give you. It's not about, we really tend to forget to appreciate people and just call to say, hi, how you doing? You know, just that. You know, we tend to really forget about doing that. Or even someone who did something for you a while back. I remembered your anniversary. I remembered your birthday. I remembered your child's something. You know, it's just the thought that really counts in terms of being sincere about it. And it's not flattery, because that's it's not flattery, because that's different. That's totally different.
And a simple way to practice it is just to practice saying thank you everywhere you go.
Exactly.
When you're at the supermarket and they hand you your, do you say thank you to the guy who's packed your food for you? Just say asante, like it's not going to cost you that much.
And then say thank you for what it is. You know, just don't say thank you. You know, thank you for allowing me to come and park here, or thank you for you know, allowing me to pass at the supermarket, like you're saying. Just be grateful, and also to the people who have nothing to give back to you.
Exactly.
You see, you know, the Askari here remembered me from last time, and he says, oh, madam, you're back. You know, and just because the conversation you have with this person is from a genuine place. How are you doing? Your mask is not in the right place. How is it very cold? Are you not warm? Are you, you know, just having those sincere conversations. They don't forget you.
Yeah. And I think part of sincerity is the tone, because you can't just say, please give me that thing.
Yes.
Or Kenyans we love saying thanks.
You know, yeah.
No, the sincerity, I mean, the tone actually goes a long way in showing the sincerity of what you're actually saying.
It does.
Absolutely. Let's talk about this one about arousing in the other person an eager want. What does that mean?
My understanding of arousing an eager want is I come to you not from the intention of what I want from you. I want to understand what are the important things for you as Joyce. Yeah, so it's not, because again it goes back to that aspect that I always talk about of taking is what are those important things about Joyce. Yes, I know I'm coming here to sell you a certain product, okay, but why do I think that you need that product? What is that homework I have done about Joyce that, you know, when I talk about, you know, this product to Joyce, I know I will get it. There's a passage in the book where Dill talks about I think a scout. There's a guy who wanted some scouts sponsored for a certain event, and this guy had to research and find out what will make the president actually sponsor these children. And when he went in, he did not even talk about the scouts themselves first. He talked about a certain check the guy had written of, was it $1,000 or $1 million? I can't remember what the actual figure was. And he the entire conversation was about the check,
Yeah.
because he knew how important that check was to this guy, and the person wanted to show off the check. It's like if you know somebody who has built a beautiful house and all you want to talk about is that house. By the time you're leaving, Joyce, whatever it is you had wanted from that person,
You
they will
get.
actually give it to you.
Yes.
So by the time the guy left, he left with not just one check for one scout, but for
Yes.
five guys. So arouse that eager want from
Yeah.
somebody, not just because you're there for your selfish interest.
Yes.
Find out what are those things that make Joyce tick.
And that lesson applies so much today
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, there are a lot of people who like sliding in other people's DMs and,
Yes.
you know, telling them all sorts of stories about why they're struggling and what's happening in their life. And many of them are true, but I can tell you that I've also been burnt by a few who've turned
Yes.
out to not be true. And so if you're really hoping to get assistance from someone, it could be for a job interview, it could be, you know, to send you something small. This is very important. I love the point that you're making because sometimes I think in life we can approach things so selfishly and we forget that even if the struggle is different, everybody is having something that they're going through.
Absolutely. Everybody does.
Yeah.
No matter who they are.
Yeah.
Everybody does. In fact, remember after Oprah did 25 years of her show, her biggest takeaway from doing the show was the fact that everybody wants to be made to feel important. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Am I there? That everybody has a value, no matter who that person is.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Keep sending in your feedback to 22999 and I'll be touching on it shortly. But some other takeaways here from this book. And one of the pointers here is basically about if you want people to think that you're interesting, you need to be a good listener.
Absolutely. My third one, be a good listener.
Yes.
To be interesting, Joyce, you must be interested. Yeah? I mean, you must listen not from the point of you want to give an answer or from a point of you must give your point of
Your
view.
opinion. Hata wewe ujulikane
Hata wewe
unajua.
ujulikane unajua wewe ni mjuaji. It is it is from a point of am I hearing what you're saying?
Right.
You know, and that I think for us, even in this day and age, it is something we really truly miss. We don't want to listen. And even as I told you last time, I've grown up in sales, you know, in marketing. And for me, that was one of the biggest take. We are there not hearing what a person is saying.
Right.
They're not interested in a life insurance policy. They already have one. But you, that's all you're there to sell.
You have to meet your targets.
You're there to meet a target. So you're missing out on the point. This guy is telling you, I've had a child yesterday. You're not even hearing that there could be an education policy right there.
Right.
You know, you're there intent on selling one thing. So you're not hearing, you're missing the whole point. Yeah. So for you to be a good listener, you know,
Yeah.
you've got to listen from a point of I want to hear you, I want to understand you.
Absolutely. All right. There's this one about getting people on your side with little yeses and then moving on to bigger yeses. The idea is that people are more likely to say yes to larger favors if they grant smaller favors first. For example, people who first signed a petition for animal rights were more likely to agree to work at the animal shelter than people who were not asked to sign the petition first. And this is the thing. So before you're asking someone to buy you a plot,
You
start-
know,
just
start
start
small, you know. And I also liked that one. There's a story they give of young people being asked to go and volunteer versus again signing the petition. What do you think you're going to win from? You know, when you want young people to, you know, just come and sign some petition versus them coming having fun, doing a cleanup or doing something. It will be the other way. You start with small things and then the next time you'll ask for a bigger ask.
Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. There's the idea about changing people's behavior. Because again, this book, you've said a lot of leaders are encouraged to read it, or you've said if you really want to be a great leader, this should probably be on your bookshelf somewhere. And when you talk about influencing people, you're influencing them and winning them over to sort of change their behaviors. And if someone is sort of irritating you, it seems kind of opposite to then shower them with praise, which is part of what he actually talks about. Because then the idea is that as you sort of encourage somebody like, hey, you can do great at this, you're actually challenging them to live up to that expectation.
Exactly.
Rather than saying, you've never done this and you'll never be and you'll, you know, so instead of putting them down, challenge them to rise up to the occasion.
Exactly.
I love
and
that
I think exactly. And I think why this book is especially for leaders is because he really focuses on the other person, not on self. It is about the other person, because the moment you start understanding other people, then even your own life becomes easier. Because as a CEO, if I understand how my juniors tend to work, then I'll be able to get more out of them, as opposed to sitting there and being the person who is giving the rules and shining my light down on people. You will get more from people once you understand them, and I really strongly believe that's why leaders are encouraged to read this book. Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. It's understanding the other person. It's always more about the other person other than self. Yes.
And in fact, one of his quotes there is that criticism is futile because it puts a person on the defensive and usually makes them strive to justify themselves.
Exactly.
So both of you end up losing,
Yeah,
because now you are
lose.
at a stalemate.
Yes, yes, because you all want to win-win.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I think even when it comes to matters forgiveness, I think there's like an underlying tone that he kind of addresses with that as well. And someone else had quoted that the deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated.
Yes.
And I think all of us can acknowledge, we've had our mistakes and we make our wrongs. But I guess it's what we're saying here, that everybody wants a chance, really. Everybody wants to have an opportunity to show that they can do better and that they can be better.
Yes.
And so a good leader, ideally, should be able to allow people to sort of come to that realization on their own.
And the way to do that, one of the ways I have learned, even as I teach connections and networking, is being vulnerable. That you're able to share your own experiences, your own mistakes with those other people, so that then you're saying, this is not unique to you. I have been through this as well, and therefore this is how I handled it. So the fact that you can be vulnerable even as a leader is a huge bonus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge
And
bonus.
absolutely. And so that even as you're doing that, you're not calling out the other person.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
You correct them. Ukiwa protect,
Exactly.
as you cover them, if you will.
Exactly.
All right. Let me read some more SMSs here. Thank you so much to all of you guys engaging with us. Wow, guys, you seem to really be enjoying this discussion. Asanteni. Charity from Thika Road says, I love the book review, especially the point on to be quick to listen and slow to speak and make everyone feel important. And yes, I hope this is the beginning of the book club. You've made me eager to read this particular book you're reviewing today. I'm currently reading The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Great. Asante sana for that. Alice from Nakuru says, I also love about the part about ways to make people like you, become genuinely interested in other people, smile.
Yes.
Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important
Oh,
sound in
one,
any
yes.
language.
That's
And
that's a really good one.
Akianani. They actually were like, where? And then we do,
Yeah.
where?
A person's name
Oh,
is
no.
the sweetest thing you can do to that person. Being able, and I often hear people who always say, I'm very bad with names, it then becomes very difficult for you to lead, because it's important to always remember somebody's name, because that's very important to that person.
Absolutely. It makes me think, I immediately think of Barack Obama.
Yes.
In my mind, I feel like he knew every one of his staff's names. He would even know how many children they have. And that really made him endearing to the people that would work around him.
Yes.
I really do feel that in many ways he embodied a lot of the qualities that are being talked about in this book.
Yes.
But this idea of leadership is not about saying I am on top of you and I am above you. It is actually allowing other people to see that they can be as well.
Yes. And by the way, once you master some of these things, I promise you're the winner, because then people will be genuinely out to want to help and make you succeed. Yes.
And that's the goal, isn't it?
It is
I mean,
the goal.
for you to win, really, you want people to be able to buy into your vision, because no man is an island and you can't do it by yourself.
Exactly.
So the real goal here is to get other people to side with you and to say, you know what, I know, and unatupeleka promised land.
Exactly.
Remember when we were going to Canaan as Kenyans? I don't know what happened.
But the only way you can do that again, Joyce, is again being genuinely interested in people and then understanding them. Like you're saying about Barack Obama, knowing the people that work for you, and not just your senior managers, the people who are making things happen. This person who brings you tea, you know, what do you know about this lady or gentleman? You know, this person who is your caretaker, what do you know about them?
Yeah.
Be genuinely interested in those people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Someone else says, hey, actually how to handle people is by knowing their characters or behaviors in different ways that you can be able to understand what they do. And one secret people don't understand is the power of appreciating people, no matter how small it is. And that's by N. Milcard. Certainly agree with that. Maureen, loving the show from Donholm, and you say, yes, I've read the book. It helped me learn how to be a people person and a person of value. And you're also suggesting a book by Jen Cicero if you're feeling stuck in life. Asante Sana. Hey Joyce, what I picked from the book is make people feel important. Saying hello to them, remembering their name or acknowledging their efforts goes a long way. Okay, someone here. Okay, I might have to skip that one for today. But let me then. Okay, some of these ones I'll have to jump over for today. But maybe as we wrap up here, for someone who's just starting out and maybe they're seeing, oh my gosh, okay, there's too much to work on. What would be like one thing you think from our discussion today that you'd encourage them to work on? Like this week. This is like a challenge for the week.
For this week.
Yeah.
All right. I think for you to even be able to apply all these skills, you must understand yourself first. All right. You must be able to know what makes me tick, what makes me who I am, what are my values. Once you understand those things, when now I'm connecting with another person, I know already what it is they're getting from me. Because remember also the way we were saying, it's not about flattery. It's not about, you're not just calling somebody because you have this one keen thing that you want from them, and people will pick these things very quickly from you if you're not being a genuine person. And I think once you understand yourself, there's something called Johari's window, and that's something they need to Google and learn about themselves. It is where you tick the box about self, and once you understand self, it will be very, very easy for you then to understand the other people and then be able to connect with them. Such that when you sit and interact with a person, you're able to sit back, listen, and then hear what Joyce is saying, not from your own selfish interest.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Lorraine.
You're very welcome. And I have seen a message from the leader of our book club. The
Okay.
book is actually on offer at, I think, 688.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know how to communicate that.
Guys, the book is on offer at
So you've got to get it
688.
today.
Where is that?
It's online.
Online, okay.
So you can send, I'll give your producers the message,
Okay.
and then they can send the number and the book will be delivered to them.
All right. Well, look for it, guys. 688 shillings, and you could get yourself a copy of the book that's on sale, and it is highly worth every shilling
Oh,
of that
absolutely.
688 bob.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. With that said, we're going to take a break. Thank you again for being here.
Thank
We
you,
look forward to the
Joyce.
next one.
Yes, start this book club. You've been challenged.
Yes.
Your guys are in it.
Clearly, clearly, it's good things. All right, guys, we're going to take a break now. And when we come back, we'll be diving into our final segment for today. We'll be talking about 5 steps to finding your brand voice. Stay tuned.